Chilly here with Sirius Tallest Moon. This is Moon Hour. Venus night. Venus is with the Sun at 15 degrees Capricorn. And as said, January 6th was given a 9/11 on some royal related structure. Meanwhile, this Christmas we had several religious structures, as predicted, being burned. And this is January 7th, where we have Venus, Mars, Sun, 17 degrees Capricorn, Mercury, 9 degrees Capricorn, applying to oppose Jupiter. Moon is going to go over Ketu. This is where I said that's risky. Now, in Netherlands, we already had churches burning. We had violence and vandalism in the entire country. There was a discussion about, is that normalized, or first of all, as half Dutch, I have to say that no, it's not. We don't have churches burning on every Christmas, okay? That's not normalized in that sense. There is a phenomenon of ritual abuse that is global, which is in all religions. So that's not something that's particular to churches. Why were the churches burning? I don't know. There are voices I heard that call for individual sovereignty and see the structure as representative of hierarchical prescribed religion. That's something to pay attention to, if this is a trend or if this is and this is where, to be honest, I thought about, let's say, Neptune, Aries, and big war times. Religions, for example, the Protestant religion was on the rise because people weren't in one place and they had to worship in ways that are less material. And also that weakened the hierarchical order. Again, Pluto is no longer in tropical Capricorn, and so we see the Venus, Sun, Mars opposing Jupiter this Christmas as the burning down of old Orthodox structure. Again, I don't know what was behind that. False flags do not but this is something that I definitely predicted, some sort of a big religious structure. And when we have churches burning, all churches that represent in their structure, the high ceilings, they represent the Capricornian order. So if I took a look at the churches that were burning, they really had this Gothic high ceiling architecture, the Saturnian, the Capricornian, saw the god as something that is the divine, that is above, that is prescribed, and those that stood at the top of the church as being the channelers of God. This type of architecture we saw burning down, and that is a church being a house of God, and that is something that happened this Christmas. And there were vandalism in the entire country. I guess people calling for a more sovereign form of religion, Aries is a big sovereignty thing, and we're gonna have Neptune ingressing into Aries. Chiron 22 in Aries. With Aries, could denote that the people that were disincluded from the hierarchy, and it's actually a Mars sign, so that can be young boys, young men. Although I have to admit, when I've visited Netherlands and I saw churches that were putting the pride flag and so on and so forth, really trying to be inclusive, and sometimes there would even be an imam that was using the church as a mosque, but the atmosphere has changed since. That was around COVID, and yeah, I mean, religious abuse or ritual abuse is, again, I'm not living in the Netherlands right now, so I'm not aware of the entire atmosphere or why have people's religions or sentiment changed. Um, but definitely prescribed religion, um, hierarchical religion. And then I saw this video that I shared here on Facebook, but this is Gobi and Dobie. It talks about hierarchy creates disease in the individual. As a holistic health practitioner, I definitely add that zero rape society is imperative to not only people's health but also ecosystemic health, and I've demonstrated that argument thoroughly um, for various years, very consistently, which has been something that I have been looking into at least since 2016-17, when I was finishing my and having my thesis proposal approved and beginning to work on the thesis itself, which is the body-mind question in the in epistemic eyes. So body-mind question in the medicines. I need the field of science to look at a question in that field of science. That was the body-mind question in the medicines, and then the epistemic eyes, which is the philosophy of science, where I infer what is the weight, the how do we know that we know, when it comes to the ontological unit called human being, in the question around the ontological unit, which is the body-mind question, and how that affects the medicine. By the way, rape dissociates consciousness and body, and therefore affects the health so malefically. We can reach non-dual states by embodiment, but when it's done with rape and trauma, it of course causes inflammation, which is the cohesion of identity and mind-brain. Okay, the mind-brain, the consciousness and the brain itself. Inflammation is an Aries disease. Neptune ingressing into Aries can denote of inflammation-related diseases because of, and it can be psychiatric but also physical. Rheumatism is a great example, of course, what they called, and this is because of patient sovereignty and patient sovereignty. But Gobi and Dobie is given a great example and said, if they look at a pilot and a co-pilot, if they come from highly hierarchical societies, it means that when the co-pilot will tell the pilot, look, we're going to collide into a building, and the pilot would say, shut up, it's scheduled. But he can't say it, so he said, what do you know? He said, well, it's my job to tell you that, but I'm so-and-so years more than you. How do you even dare to talk to me? And they collide into a building, which is not the reason that the entire building collapses, but several floors definitely are harmed. That's not how Dobie and Gobi said that, but hey, you're gonna want to watch the original story because he tells it better than me, and so go watch his video. And basically, when we have a less hierarchical society, when the co-pilot can tell the pilot, dude, we're gonna collide into a fucking building, and then the person said, But I'm in Epstein Island, and so are you. So what do we care? Let's die, and we'll still have the same result. But without the extortion calls, they can divert the plane away from colliding that building. Um, if I say, Shelley, there was never such a case. Well, not with pilots. Yes, with the plane, but there was. Um, so, keep calm on the Bolshevik extortion cults to preserve intergenerational wealth and or humanity. It's like, I attend a political assassination prevention, but there's a limit to what I can do. It's not about political assassination, it's about humanity going extinct. So, tomorrow and January 17, 7, safer. We're gonna have a collision. And it's gonna continue to January 8, where it happens in the beautiful degree of poison. Venus, Mars, and Sun meet in the degree of poison, just 2 meters from opposing Jupiter. And squaring Chiron. Nine 11 on human trade is 9/11. A bump, a bump, a bump. So, it's toxic, okay? It's toxic. It's kind of a toxic yoga. And the nodes are on the 11th degree of Pisces and Virgo. Something explodes, maybe in the air, that has passengers, could destroy a city. Moon is going to oppose Saturn. And may contain toxins harmful for women, men, and leaders. In hierarchical structure, what did Gobi and Dobby talk about? The pilot and the co-pilot? All of this is applying to square 22 Chiron, so we're going to have 11, 22, 18 degree. Al-Qaid, which is the destruction of cities, or misfortune and disease, opposing Saturn in Pisces. Now, what I predicted that there will be either a delay or a limit, that something could have been way bigger. But the moon opposing Saturn, or alternatively, the Saturn says, it's time. Al-Qaid is denoted with the northeast direction. So, not a good time to attack the northeast. Watch my tiny war teaching on Jupiter point of Thales on Beechwood, or Rockefeller Ashwalik on Beechwood. So, there may be a small event that triggers a chain of bigger events, or something that was supposed to be way bigger, but is could still end up with a city being destroyed. Particularly if that city has religious. Okay, Gaza has already been through that, so because it's on the Hamas axis, it's on the Palestine axis. One will be 12th house of 12th house for Israel, and Saturn 6th house, and that kind of is kind of Palestinian. So it can be Israeli hospital city. What is hospital city? Mercury Capricorn. Hospital city. A city where this hospital could be bombed. But this can mean, unfortunately, toxins. The moon will trine Uranus, which means that they agree on a certain explosion of something, either religious structure or aviation, to do with people. It can be city because it is Mercury. Beta Persei can be around the leader because it's around Israel's sun. Explosion of some sorts. Saturn could be making this explosion. It's either fatedly bigger than it was supposed to, or it's supposed to be something small and it's bigger, or it is smaller than it was supposed to. There's something it planned something very big, and it is actually smaller. Both options can be, and because it's in the prepper decan of Capricorn, it could be a preparation for something, preparation for the Saturn Neptune. Is gonna be use of some sort of toxic related weapon, or that there is a leak of something toxic. What else? So the moon will be agreeing with Uranus, which means explosion or destruction of cities, or even some toxins around cities in an explosion. Beta Persei can be bodies upon bodies. I don't know if Beta Persei is minima that day. Let's see if Beta Persei is minima. Yeah, so this does not give me too much information. I'll go minima. Maybe this one. Now, here is the thing. There are a lot of societies that were trying to silence people. Again, just to say, how should I say that? It's no time for fear. And also, they don't offer anything. Let's say somebody, I don't know, let's say they raped someone, and they say, oh, you need to shut up about this, and so on and so on. Yeah, but they're still rapists, so yes, it's not about vengeance, it's about if they don't rape, then if they cease terminally to rape, then whether in spirit or matter or to threaten in rape or anything like that, then people will continue with their life. if they're healthy and happy and thriving and so on. If not, there's nothing that they do. Lilith became killer of infants in their society. So because they think they will do this and then people won't shut up and will shut up and won't shut up, and then a bomb on those societies, which is logical because it's like a sitting A bomb, all the tensions within the society, that everybody there raped everybody, and they talk about being persecuted where they're not persecuted by anybody other than themselves in different colors. It's kind of like the wave. So 7th January, Beta Persei will be minima, which means 8 not, and then 10 January. And we're now in 5 January, which means it was minima today or yesterday. Again, people had the time to adjust since basically the time that women got the right to vote. The women would not go to work if they would not be unhappy at home. And if they're unhappy at home and unhappy at work, one has to ask themselves why. If it was not race-based society, then probably wouldn't come to that. But now it has to be zero rape society. And those that did not have time to adjust to this, they had time to adjust. They had time to sort the issues with their lineages. They had time to wealth consolidate. They had time to do all these things. If they base that on rapey society, whichever context, way, shape, or form, too bad. It means then they got nothing to offer because all of the offers cannot be accepted. Why did Lilith leave or were cast away from paradise, so to speak? Because all of this paradise were not because the food. Look at the King Charles. Okay, you think he was not? I'm sorry, ritually abused and raped when he was child. Why did he not absorb the minerals and vitamins in the food? He could not grow cancer if there would not be overgrowth of cells. To have overgrowth of cells, the normal food prevents overgrowth of cells. So he would be exposed to radiation, or he would be eating food exposed to radiation, food that does not absorb the minerals and vitamins, or would go to ritual abuse where it means he would not absorb the vitamins and minerals. King of England. But it's true. So let's say, oh, he had bad habits. Okay, fantastic. Why did he develop these bad habits? Was it something in the upbringing? Was it something in the teenager phase where people listen less to their parents and more to their, let's say, secret societies? Something to do with caregiving, okay? Overgrowth of cells. Now, if the King of England is dealing with that, we understand that, he has the money, he has the resources, he has the land, you're like, either that or somebody caused it by purpose that he will have cancer. And then we have to ask, who? WHO, who? It's a WH question. Who? Good health to King Charles. Um, now, so Beta Persei is minimum on the 7th. And then we enter the 8th with this 18-degree triple conjunction. Again, triple conjunctions are rare. Um, all of those degrees in the air, Al-Qaid in the air, Beta Persei so close to Uranus, retrograde. Um, it's gonna be hectic. Okay, it's a hectic week. Let's take a look at the news. I always relax at taking a look at NATO news or something. Oh, and we saw that the Venezuela spousey and what is the drug lord, the giant? Not the King of England, the other one, the other oil giant. When we learn about financial history and become educated to make good decisions financially, we learn that the people, the empires, they gain the wealth by being drug dealers. There was one guy in Netherlands that said, hey, we should not be going after the drug dealers. And even said a word against the WHO. That thing is in past tense. But because, the biggest monarchies are the biggest drug lords, and we couldn't say it. Um, so this is what happens when people are elite but honest. um, I attended to the case of that political assassination. It was not funny. I knew nothing about elite, nothing about anything. And that was my Pluto square, and then Uranus opposing Mars, and then Uranus going over my lot of family. Okay, some world news. Oh, Iran is bombed. Um, so some mysterious bombing. I wonder who did it. Security Council Live. The power of the law must prevail amid Venezuela crisis. Of course, if they kidnap every drug lord country that has oil, yes, it's good. um, so the Security Council Basically, the Security Council can invade United States right now. Because United States can't veto the decision even being in the P5. Why? Because crime against unless we are going to persecute all leaders that are drug lords. Mellow, anyone? Xinhua pictures of the year 2025. It looks burning. Year in review, our peak of that major global news event that shaped turbulent 2025. They're like, Shirley, how come you talk about assassination prevention and your life is like, Falcon, Holocaust, it's Holocaust jokes o'clock. Okay? I dedicated 3 years of my life to that case. Not because I chose to sacrifice him, it just happened. And if I have to ask myself who did it, keep calm and abolish extortion cults. Because within that, every logic is no logic. The logic that if the biggest monarchies, empires, and countries are the biggest drug lords, then why do we persecute drug lords as anything other than a form of, but also rape-based society, which to transfer the drugs they do, and the drugs is what they use for, that also not something that one can sustain with. And then after those 3 years happened 7th of October. Do you know how mad I was? that they no longer suffer and they're no longer here and I have to suffer and be here. Year in review. Our peak of the major global news events that shaped a turbulent 2025. Samsung unveils the world's first 130-inch micro RGB TV featuring next generation. You see that I'm completely dissociated. Maduro to appear in New York courtroom as Trump administration lays out plans. His live is 2 hours ago. He's in court. His defiant Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores entered not guilty pleas in their first court appearance in New York after being captured in the U.S. military operation. The ousted leader, who faces drugs and weapon charges, told the judges he's still the president of Venezuela. If they persecuted people like, so you're trying to go where he went. But it's true. Wait a second. If they persecuted every single drug lord that trades weapon, that is also leader of country, we have anarchy. The only way to change that economy is have zero rape society. That way people don't have to steal or get others addicted to have silver to basically traffic, go from zero usury bank to bankrupt with folk. I mean, I'm all for speculative investment, but they took gold, they brought silver. Venezuela's uncertain future. Okay, more world news. What am I going to talk about? Babysitting? But here is the thing, Deming and Babysitting, they created a project where the people that were drug addicted would not be deprived of housing, because who would they sell the drug to? um, so this is why they got him assassinated by a drug lord that ordered the assassination as a film. I haven't looked in that case for at least several months now. Probably there are developments. I know the families, particularly the son, was really hunting after that case, and um, all the intricacies. Okay, all the intricacies that are associated with it. Um, I ran into that again completely by chance. I saw the news about the assassination, was in Netherlands, and that was my way to study Dutch. Yeah. Why is it coming up now? Because they talked about drug lords, and so a lot about Venezuela. No, what was petering? Jupiter. Now this is the ascendant also of the 1800 chart. Jupiter is 1 degree away. Moon on Jupiter. And the triple conjunction is going to be on the descendant of Peter de Vries. Yeah, everybody's stressed. I'm also stressed. I went through several years that were beyond stressful. Naturally, with all the things bringing so many worlds together. Um, mm, 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 mm. So everybody's like, Venezuela, what it means for the world. Hey, if Trump invented the war and did that, a la Israel Palestine. Falcon, I don't know who killed Peter the Vries, okay? I was My telepathy. That's it. You know what everybody's thinking, okay? And oh my God, who was who with who and who and Peter George times and so on. Anyway, what the U.S. Venezuela operation means for the world. Venezuela. More UN staff detention in Yemen. Peacekeepers killed in Sudan. Just 2 weeks ago. Let's go back to Venezuela. Weightlifting champion jailed by Russia for plotting sabotage and assassinations. This is the weightlifting champion. Yulia Lemeshchenko was defiant and did not deny the accusations, since she had decided to fight against Russian military aggression. This is interesting. This is definitely going to the Venus-Mars-Sun conjunction in Capricorn. World News in Brief, Landmark Disease and Mental Health Declaration, Afghan Hunger. No, that's 3 weeks ago. Everybody's busy with Venezuela. Do I see it in the chart? I mean, yes, Saturn also rules Pluto. Mars also has to do with oil. Saturn, Neptune. But I had an episode on the Venezuela chart. World event-wise, it's like a big religious confrontation, but natural resources, more about rocks and minerals. It also rules oil, but it's more about rocks and minerals. And yes, Neptune does denote of drugs, but this is more the drugs that sustain a regime. Again, you know what? If Trump was taking him down for child trafficking, extortion calls, and stuff like that, people say he'd be exposing himself, but that would actually do something, you know? He'd have to abolish it in his own country, which means tremendous revelation. Yeah. Trump serious about wanting to take over Greenland, says Danish Prime Minister. This is 47 minutes ago. Now, here's the thing with the Deans. Remember when I was saying on NATO's chart because I'm me. And I was talking about astrological considerations for declarations of independence when it came to the Greenland discussion. Where it was like, of course, Greenland belongs to Denmark. That's that's the only place where Russia is not northeast to. And so tiny war teaching. Um, Trump serious about wanting to take over Greenland. You know what I was thinking when Gobi and Dobie was talking about the co-pilot thingy, other than Hans Medema. Um, and um, there's no way to address that without addressing that. It shook the country. But here is the thing. Of why am I not addressing that? Because that structure is global. Why address the like? But here's the thing. Greenland, only country that is not to the northeast. Minerals. I don't want to be a sovereign country. So before we know it, Israel will probably acknowledge its sovereign. Like I wouldn't be surprised. Um, so Trump wants Greenland. Not the best astrocartography for Trump, but it's also kind of fated. Not gonna elaborate on that right now. Colombia, Cuba, Mexico, Greenland, or Iran. Where could Trump strike next? Epstein Island. Location, 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 location. World News in brief: Turk condemns abhorrent attack in Sydney. UNHCR chief calls. Latest world videos. Yeah, more Venezuela. Here's the thing. If I try to take a look at NATO news, Trump was really doing. And here's the thing, Trump is a media giant. And he was really, when he was talking about taking a step back from NATO fiscally, he wasn't just doing it fiscally. He was creating a media scandal to divert the attention from NATO. We have, again, we need Greenland. Trump repeats threats to annex Danish territory 4 hours ago. To annex Greenland, okay? It was Secretary General uh, Rutte visits NATO forward land forces in Poland. That was 2 weeks ago. Coalition of the Willing in Paris tomorrow. Okay. Um, Denmark, tomorrow, Beta Persei's minima tomorrow. Sun is midheaven. And we're going to have the Sun, Venus, Mars conjunction in 17 degree. Or let me see where we stand. Because Coalition of the Willing is a big military conglomerate of hierarchical nature. By the way, it's also how I got to the chart of Mark Rutte when I attended to Peter's case. I was like, Peter could not have worn a mask during the pandemic. I can't. There was another person breaking the rules. January 6th. So tomorrow is January 6th. Okay. It's still the triple conjunction. It's 1 degree away. The moon is gonna go over Mark's ascendant. And the Rao is just 2 degrees away from the ruler. Okay. Beta Persei's minima on the 7th. So on the 7th. So Beta Persei is less risky. Nothing 22s except for Chiron, which has been there for a while. Paris. Fractions away for the Saturn return for good transit. Jupiter in the 11th. I don't know. Not the best of days, but also not something that I'm overly concerned about. Could be some sort of. I remember the time where he went to Odessa and to meet with Zelensky, and Putin tried to bomb them. It can be something like that, but I mean, how's the manure in Paris with the farmers and so? Pretty shitty situation. We need Greenland. Trump raises NATO alarms with the latest wish for U.S. control over the. Again, they need Greenland. Danish Prime Minister warns of NATO's end should Trump invade Greenland. So good that he's protecting neighboring countries. Erdogan wants to sell weapon to the security of NATO. EU meeting on military mobility. NATO Deputy Secretary General attends NATO EU meeting on military mobility. But this is 3 weeks. They combined in 3 weeks. But that's it. That's pretty recent. That's all the recent stuff we had. And again, what Trump is doing in Venezuela is trying to take the spotlight off of NATO, not just the budget off of NATO, but the media spotlight off of NATO. Because that's, again, a media giant. And And this is where um, this is showing us the kind of moves. It also puts Trump's, when I said Greenland is not the best astrocartography location for Trump, um, but it's around his Rahu line as well. So it's something fated to um, is kind of like this. He's fated to go there, and yet that place is quite risky assassination wise. And I'm just looking at this stuff. The ruler of Rahu is also 22ing. So see, when I went to Netherlands, just talked about Peter R. de Vries case and meet into political assassination prevention. As an astrologer and as a native 22er, then that's something that I don't really have an answer for. So I definitely see Trump's fate linked with Greenland. He's meant to go there, whether it's because he has business there, whether it's because security, whatever. He's meant to go there, and that may or may not be associated with a possible death by assassination. To be very honest, in a different yoga, I have a similar case in different location. I'm not a real estate giant, but this is where, as an astrologer, it was an episode that I recorded and then just didn't post and deleted from my memory. There are several astrocartography that I tended to. In my Rahu line, many of the locations really accentuate on that 22 Mars. Even so much so as into the Rahu is in my 12th house. Not too much smart words to say. When it comes to Donald Trump, he's an eclipse child, and going to anybody that goes to Greenland is going to 22 of the 22 of the 22 and of the 22. Okay, it's and because that's the only place that's not northeast to Russia. Of course, and it's also posing a strategic question of not being Greenland, defending that place is very, very difficult. What do I mean by that? I mean by the fact that conquering Greenland is going to where, unless it's Denmark, which Denmark is not, Greenland is not to the northeast of Denmark. But for the Western world, they need Denmark, and this is true because otherwise they could get attacked from anywhere. If Russia could go all the way to Finland, Sweden, Norwegian, Poland, Germany, Denmark, and so on and so forth, then that would really mark the Greenland area as significant and important. If we say Russia would never be able to do that, well, the USSR was coming not too far from that, even after the Second World War, and Finland had to work with the Nazis. Okay, so and so I know paperclip and so on and so forth. Yes, but I'm talking about the Nazis that were in Germany. That were not their paper clipping